Welcome everybody, my name is Shwadi and this is my RAISER VEX build. This build revolves around the REAPER minions and a lot of melee damage. This build is excellent for mobbing and bossing. Most of the skills we'll be using are on the dead ring or blue tree. We'll be choosing to spawn Reapers, of course, so that we can deal melee attack damage with them. We'll put 5 into Fell Inscriptions so that our VEX and our minions will gain increased melee damage and maximum health capacity. We'll put 5 into Cursed Blade and 1 into Extra Cursed so that both VEX and our minions will be able to curse enemies whenever we deal melee attacks to them. We'll put 1 into Blood Sacrifice so that whenever our VEX minions die or if we replace one, it'll activate all our kill skills. We'll put 2 into Grave Fiend so that VEX and our minions will deal increased damage in general, that'll be another kill skill. We'll put 3 into Grave Quickening, another kill skill so that way we can gain increased action skill cooldown rate to get our minions back faster. Come down here, we'll put 5 into Recurrence, so every time we deal gun damage or melee damage, it'll grant us stacks to gain increased gun damage and melee damage. We'll put 5 into Haruspex. That way, instead of just doing a regular melee, every now and then we'll be able to throw an actual phase dagger that can also critically hit, and then we'll boost that with Pincushion. So instead of just throwing 1 phase dagger, we'll throw 5. This is kind of like the whole knife trick in Destiny with the Hunter. It's a lot of fun when we're using a melee build. We're definitely going to want to put 5 into Reverberations so that we get a lot of increased incendiary melee damage 50% of the time when we're doing melee damage in general. And that's also for our minions. So this happens a lot, and this is what really deals a lot of the damage when it comes down to melee builds with VEX. We'll put 5 into Obedient Fiends so that we gain increased minion damage. 5 into Ancient Rites so that each of our minions that are active will increase minion damage. We'll put 1 into Diner so we can have an extra charge. That'll just basically give us 4 charges for our minions. We can only have 3 out on the field, but at least we'll have 1 as a backup that will always be ready as the rest of them keep charging up again. As far as our capstone, we're going to go with Dark Pact so that we can actually have 2 augments equipped, and then whenever we press and hold our F, our minions will completely restore their health, and their minion attack speed and their movement speed will be increased, which is definitely helpful when they're dealing damage to bosses and mobs. The 2 augments that we're going with are Coven, so that we can gain health regeneration for ourselves and our Reapers. And we're going to use Hellish Harvest for our Reapers so they can do strong melee damage and so they can regenerate health for each enemy hit. As far as anything else that we're going to use, the rest of the skills will go into Blood is Magic on the red tree so that we can deal increased action skill damage the higher our health. And the minions do count as action skill, so this actually helps them do more damage as well. Some points that you can also switch around if you didn't want to, for example, use Haruspex and Pincushion. If you want to just do up close and personal melees, you can switch those out and put them maybe into Grave Fiends just to do a little bit more damage with you and your minions. Maybe even a little bit more into Grave Quickening so that you can gain even more action skill cooldown rate. Another thing I could also recommend is putting 3 into Hasty Fiend so that you and your minions gain increased movement speed and damage reduction. So that's pretty free. You could even put some into Overprotective so that you and your minions gain an overshield every time you kill things. But it's completely up to you. Because this is a melee build, I did want to put it into the phase daggers just to have them, especially for the enemies that like to fly and things like that, because it's very helpful for them. Another thing to mention is that because we have an extra backup charge for our dead ringer, if we already have 3 minions out on the field, which is the max amount we can have on the field, if we want to switch up the element, for example, and you want to bring out a different Reaper, you can do that. It'll replace one of the Reapers, which will basically count as that Reaper dying, which will activate Blood Sacrifice, which will activate our kill skills. So it's a great way to basically activate all your kill skills if you want to do it that way. They don't necessarily have to die because your minions are actually going to be pretty tanky and they're going to be doing a lot of damage. It's going to be hard for them to die. But if you want to activate a new Reaper to get rid of an older one, that will also count as a minion dying. For our specializations, We'll be wanting 10 in Sharpshooter and 10 in Runner just to get us down to Daredevil. Daredevil's what's going to help our minions out. We're going to be getting I Am a Gun, so action skill damage will benefit from increases to gun damage. And we'll put a Honed Mind, so our action skills gain a chance to critically hit enemies. So again, this is helping out the Reapers. And then we'll also gain increased action skill critical hit damage, so they'll do more damage in general. Then we'll be wanting to go to Bare Arms, so that our melee damage will also benefit from gun damage. And then this is what will really help our melee damage in general, Groundbreaker. Non-melee attack damage and slam damage are stored. So pretty much every time we're doing damage that isn't melee, we're going to be storing a bunch of that damage, and then the next time we do an actual melee attack, it'll release all that damage on top of our melee damage. This is what really melts bosses and does a lot of damage when we're mobbing. For our gear, I do like weapons that have higher fire rate just so we can put out more damage quickly, so we can store up all that damage for Groundbreaker and hit really hard with our next melee attack. So I typically will use Vladoff weapons. A lot of my Vladoff weapons will also have this COV licensed magazine, so I usually have an enhancement that'll help out with that. Pretty much all the weapons that I like to use are going to have high fire rate so I can deal a lot of damage quickly. For our rep kit, I recommend the mini triple bypass or just a triple bypass in general, but what you really want is hard hitter, so that every time you pop the rep kit, you gain increased melee damage for a duration. That's going to be very helpful with this. So even a purple one works. I had this other one that has amp and hard hitter that I'll switch out to every now and then. I got a Slippy for the grenade. Because the Slippy deals melee damage, it also benefits from all the melee boosts that we're getting from the skill tree and from Groundbreaker. For a class mod, I went with a Fire Dancer that boosts some of our melee skills. And I got a really good one here that gives us 25% action skill cooldown rate to get our minions back faster and an extra 50% melee damage to that. For our armor shields, I went with a heavyweight. That way we can get bare knuckle, which is on melee hit. It'll consume an armor segment and grants 100% boosted melee damage. And then when you're completely empty with your armor, you get an automatic 50% melee damage boost. And then our enhancement, again, it just really depends on the guns that you want to use. But because I'm using most of these guns with Vladoff and COV, I have this one that'll give me 100% chance to deal critical damage while overheating. And I also like it more so for the boost that I got with it. So I got increased gun damage, status effect damage, and reload speed. Every now and then I'll switch out to this Vladoff one right here that also gives me an extra 20% fire rate and 20% magazine size, plus extra splash radius, status effect damage, and magazine size. So that really helps out with things like wombo combos. I'm currently having a lot of fun using the wombo combo, an onslaught, and the Affinity Triple XL. The purple Vladoff weapons are also very good, especially the SMGs. You can farm the wombo combo from the Ripper Roadbirds at the Saw's Clench Ripper drill site in the ruined Sumplands. For the onslaught, you have to farm Idolater Soul at the Fortress Indomita. You can farm for the Affinity Triple XL from Battle Wagon, which is at the Lowering March Ripper drill site in Stoneblood Forest. The triple bypass can be farmed from the Back Hive, which is in the Claim, the Auger Mine, that's in the Dissected Plateau. You'll just want to go to Zadra's Backup Plan fast travel station, and it's pretty much right outside that. You can farm for the Heavyweight Shield from the Vile Prototype in Windspear. You can get Slippies from any fishing spot. Obviously it's RNG, but I've had a pretty good chance of getting one every time I've gone fishing. I've also gotten one to actually be in a vending machine, so definitely check the vending machines for legendaries. For our firmware, I do recommend 3 into Action Fist and 2 into Real Big Fist. This will give us a lot more melee damage, and then for this one, for the Action Fist on the third one, we'll get more action skill damage every time we kill with a melee. So that, again, will also help out our Reapers. I tried out the whole melee kills trigger Nova explosion on the Real Big Fist, but even on mobbing, it really didn't do much. I don't know if it's a bug, like maybe the Novas aren't actually proccing or damaging enemies, but they'd be right next to each other and I didn't see any damage at all being done to them. So I'm not sure if this is just not working as intended, or maybe the Nova is just so small that they basically have to be touching in order to actually feel that damage. So for now, I just recommend putting the third one into Action Fist, because it'll at least for sure help your minions out. Basically, the gameplay loop for bossing will be to spawn 3 Reapers in any element that will actually be more beneficial for the boss fight. Then you'll want to throw your phase daggers, hitting the boss and also giving it that curse damage. You'll want to shoot a whole mag of your gun, and then you can go up and actually do a very strong melee attack. Usually it'll one-shot a boss, but if not, it'll definitely chunk a lot of its health. That about wraps it up for the build. Hope you enjoy. Try it out. Let me know what you think. If there are any changes that you think would be better or any recommendations that you have, please let me know in the comments below. Apart from that, have a good one.